spent the last 2 days finding the fixable problems and starting to fix them. And obviously we're disappointed in our play. And so here's some of the things that we found on offense: ball security, 4 turnovers, third down execution, 0 of 8, whether it be protection, route running, passes, combination of all of them must finish drives. Overall execution had critical mistakes by all units at different times that were pivotal. On defense, get off the field on third down, they were 10 of 18. We need to fit the run better. There were a couple of misfits there for some long runs. Fit perimeter screens. On special team, improve our field goal kicking, and eliminate the 2 penalties. Positive for the game, I thought Christian Lockature played his best game. He had 2 sacks, several tackles, all over the field. Got us where at 18, his 5th year, really the senior, means a lot to him. And also Greg Gilmore. Moving on, a very important week for the LSU Tigers. I know our guys are going to be fired up, ready to go to work today after we go through a 24-hour rule. Traveling on to the Swamp, Florida Gators, 4-1, 3-0 in the SEC. On their offense, their pro style. Offensive coordinator Doug Nussmeier, 7 returning starters, averaging about 360 yards a game, 146 yards rushing, 212 passing. Top players Tyree Cleveland, Malik Davis, and Martez Ivory. Very good offensive line. 3 good running backs. Number 20 is probably their best one, the freshman. Defensive breakdown, very familiar with their defense because I'm coaching Randy Shannon. Randy played with us when I was at Miami. He was my graduate assistant coach. We remained friends throughout the years. He's running 4-3, cover 4, under cover 1. A lot of the things that we did at Miami back in the day, will pressure. 6 returning starters. He's given up average of 381 yards a game, 26 points per game. And then 0 fumbles and had 5 interceptions. Our top players are David Reese, middle linebacker, Nick Washington Sr., safety, and C.C. Jefferson, a guy I was highly involved in recruiting. He's very explosive. He's a good pass rusher and plays with a high motor. On special teams, their kickoff is number 1 in the nation. They have 0 returns. They're very, very capable of returning kicks and punts with all the speed that they have in Florida. Any questions?
Coach, where are the problems on offense that you see? Is it in the coaching staff? Do you guys need to figure out kind of how to get on the same page? It seems like you might be fighting each other.
You know, execution. Obviously, this is Matt's offense, and he brought in, he implemented every play, everything. I did step in last week for the first time. I wanted to simplify only the shifts and motions. I knew we were going to start 2 freshman linemen, so I wanted the guys to be in place so we knew how to block them. That's all I've ever done. You know, this is Matt's offense. He runs it, he calls it, he scripts the plays. This is his offense.
Hey, Coach, reflecting back on the film, do you feel like your team is giving maximum energy and effort out there on the field?
You know, yeah, a lot of people ask me that question. You know, it does look like we're playing flatter sometimes. We feel that we're practicing with energy. There was a lot of energy in the locker room. But I think that, you know, we have a saying, big plays fuel emotion. And, you know, we go out there and we fumble the play on the first down. And they score a touchdown. I think they took the air out of us. So that's my job. You know, that's one of my strengths. So I think that you're going to see a team very fired up to play this week. And hopefully we can continue to do that and improve in that area.
And a follow-up, is there anything going on with Darius besides an injury that's preventing him from getting on the field, playing, contributing to the team?
No.
And we saw kind of different offenses out there in the first half and the second, that more simplified with less shifts in the first half. Where do you go from here with the offense, and which one do you kind of?
You know, that's totally up to Matt, and I believe that's totally up to him. And again, I will say this: I stepped in last time for the first time and wanted to simplify things in order for us to have less penalties, better execution. At halftime, he felt like he needed to shift motion more, which he did, and that's totally his option, and this is totally his offense.
You mentioned after the game play calling. How do you improve in that area as a coaching staff in general? You
Well, you know, we gotta look at, what the defense is giving us, take what they're giving us. We gotta look what the offense is doing, we gotta be able to stop it. That's an overall area of improvement, and that's everybody in football.
So you're right, Coach. What was Coach Canada's reaction whenever you did step in last week?
All fine. From head coach.
And how do you plan to use the quarterbacks this week?
You know, Danny's our starter, and he is our starter. Hopefully we can go 4 quarters with him in a very big football game. We have never planned to play Miles in one of the SEC games just to throw him in there. We'll just prepare Miles in case Danny got hurt, that he would have some snaps that he could go in there and perform, and I think he performed pretty well.
Yeah, Ed, I guess some of the early criticism has been about both sides of the ball on the line, not playing very physical,
Yeah.
and you even mentioned that. What's the problem there? Are they, not in shape, or is it the fundamentals, or I mean, what's going on there? Because people are shoving you all around, and I mean, obviously to get better you have to hit more, but
Yeah.
you can't hit more because you don't have enough depth.
Yeah, I think that you bring up a good point. We're not playing the way we want to on both sides of the line of scrimmage. That's one of the reasons I wanted to put shift and motion, be more physical at the point of attack. But you know, you play 2 freshmen there. The guys are moving and they're challenging our 2 freshmen. On defense, our best player is out, Rashard Lawrence. We don't have Ed Alexander out there. We don't have Frank Herron out there. So we got our guys that are doing the best job that they can, but Glenn Logan was a redshirt freshman, and he played, I don't know, almost every snap to right end, so it was kind of difficult for him to hold the point. We wish we could have rotated it, but we couldn't. And we think that we can have some help with Rashard Lawrence this week, and Ed Alexander, and Frank Herron against Auburn.
Coach, how do you block out the noise from that room of everything that's going on and people talking about wanting you fired or doing anything else? How do you block that noise out from out here?
Thanks for telling me, Andrew. I go to work, show up at 6 o'clock in the morning, I say my prayers, I drink my coffee, I watch film. I stay in the office all day, I call my wife 2 or 3 times a day, text my boys. Go to practice, go watch film. I go home and I put my head in the pillow and go to bed. I don't listen to the news, I don't listen to none of that. That's out of my control.
And over here, you guys talked a lot about communication trouble last time you went on the road to Mississippi State. How do you clean that up this week?
Yeah, we have to, you know, crowd noise, simplify the things that we can do, silent snap down, all that stuff. It's part of our playing in the SEC. We're fixing to go some big road games, so we better get used to it.
Coach, we've seen more and more receivers getting involved in the passing game, and you've expressed concerns about their experience and ability levels before. Have you seen their progression at a rate that you're comfortable with?
With Stephon, yes. Drake, he's coming. Still the other receivers have a ways to go. But we like our first 3 receivers. We think they're very, very solid. We like the way the tight ends caught the ball last week. We like to throw the ball to the tight ends more. Get our backs involved more, spread the ball around a little bit more.
Coach, over here on the 74-yard run.
Yeah.
It looked like 2 guys had a real chance to make that tackle.
Yeah.
And for whatever, they didn't see him or they didn't engage. It wasn't a good look. What was your take on it?
It was a counter, and we had too many guys outside. We had the first guy splattered, what we call splatter, we used to call spill. The next guy should have splattered, sent it to the safety. That one safety was supposed to be up. The next safety was a little too tight. He's supposed to be back, what we call fox in the post. And he had cleanup duty. He came up, we had 3 guys overrun it, and we had a seam, and he hit it. So it was a matter of execution on the defense and fits. And by the way, they ran that play 3 times later, and we crushed it. Just a bad fit, that play.
You mentioned Ed Alexander, Rashard. We could see them coming back this week. How about some offensive guys, Toby and JD, and of course Darius? How are they?
Yeah, those guys are still questionable.
Let's talk Florida a little bit. Does it help knowing that, you know, with Del Rio out, looks like Felipe is going to be the guy there as far as defensive game planning?
I think it helps a little bit, you know, but obviously they're good coaches. I just watched that offensive line all morning. That doesn't affect them at all. Maybe they can run the ball more. They have 3 good backs, a big offensive line, very talented. very well coached. This is gonna be a tremendous challenge for our front.
And it seems like they really went to their ground game in this past weekend. Is that the new?
Yeah, and I can see them doing that. They got 3 backs, and that's, last year, we had problems stopping their run, their power game, and they were very, very physical at the line of scrimmage. That's gonna be a challenge for us this week.
Coach, Austin Deculus enrolled early, highly touted tackle. Why haven't we seen more of him, and how close are we to seeing that?
He's just not there yet. Just not there. He does a lot of good things, but he's not ready to step in and be a starter yet. He's a very physical young man, a smart young man, a great young man, works hard, but he's just not ready yet to go in there and take the snaps that we feel that.
And how do you and Matt get together and decide when to put in the other quarterback and when to take him out? How does that all
we talk
happen?
about it. Well, we talked about it before the game. We meet before the game in Lot Cook. And we talk about the game plan, and then we talk about the quarterback play, and said, let's find a time for Danny to go in. You let me know what you think, and I'll let you know what I think. I do converse with him throughout the game. What do you think now? Now, one more series with Danny. There's a couple of things I want to get done. And now's the right time to put him out, and we decide on it and do it.
The field goal kicking, where is it back open? How do you approach that this week?
Yeah, we're gonna discuss that a little bit later. We don't have any other choices. I mean, that's what we have. Hopefully we get the guys better. I will say this about Jack. I sat behind him at practice on Thursday. He was 5 of 5 for field goals. He was perfect, right down the middle. Just went out there and didn't do a good job.
Coach in the back, how important is it for the coaches and the players to have the right mindset moving forward?
Yes, I think that's my job, and it's one of my strengths. Today's a 24-hour rule. We'll get going. We'll make improvements. I'll be very positive with this football team, believe in them. I expect them to get better. We had a meeting on Saturday night. They had a players-only meeting on Saturday night. I'm meeting with the leaders at 1:30. We will foster leadership like we always do, but even foster it more. Expect some guys to step up. We're gonna battle. I mean, you put our backs to the wall, we just know how to battle. That's all we're gonna do.
Was that a meeting after the game?
There was one, yeah. After I met with him, Darryl Williams, I believe, brought him up, and guys started talking and stuff like that. Which is good.
Yeah, that's gotta give you positive encouragement.
It's good. That's good. We need leadership. We need guys to step up. We all need to do that.
The saying goes, heavy is the head that wears the crown. You're a guy that is fighting for a job, full of energy, and now you have a lot more responsibility. Have you second guessed anything that you've done? Are you any different in ways that you can notice and maybe get back to?
Yeah, well, let me say this thing. I've remained the same coach I was as an interim coach. I have the same responsibility. I do the same things every day. Obviously, the load's a little bit heavier now than I'm a full-time coach, and I understand the pressures out there, I understand the other shit. Look, I was born and raised just like y'all here. I get it, I've been on the outside, I get it, but you know what? It doesn't faze me at all. And the reason it doesn't faze me is I'm strong enough mentally to attack work every day, focus in on the task at hand, and do what's best for this football team. That's what I do.
Coach, could it perhaps be a positive to have to go on the road to a place like the Swamp where you're against the odds and the guys are going to have to rally and play together to have success there?
You think? I love Tiger Stadium, but we're going to turn it into a positive. It's anytime you play Florida, whether you're home or away, guys are going to get revved up. And there's some things that we need to do better this year, obviously, than we did last year. I'm going to mention that to them today. And this is a heated rivalry. We understand that's the way college football is, but we need to behave in some situations a little bit better than we did last year.
Hey, Coach, up here at the top. That was maybe the practice regimen last year in the interim. Do you maybe change that with the performance of your team and with the opponents coming up?
As a young coach, I would have. That was the wrong thing to do. Today I'd have them out in full pads, scrimmaging, but I'm not going to change the practice routine. That's not it. This is a practice routine that's worked where we played well, and so that's no reason for that. I think it's about fundamentals, it's about details, it's about the film room, it's about, I asked the coaches today, let's put together a list of things that we didn't do well. Let's make sure that we drilled it, let's make sure that we worked it, let's make sure that we gave them exact picture in practice for them to perform that skill. And if we did, let's do a better job this week. That's football. That's planning.
Coach, you touched on you shouldering the leadership. Would you admit there's been a void when you lose guys like Beckwith and Adams and people that
Yeah.
maybe it took a while to find those guys?
Yeah, you know, you have five players that are starting in the NFL, and those guys were leaders for us. But those guys were also good players. And I think there's a combination, you know, I think to be a great leader, you have to be a great player or a good player. And you need to lead by example on the field, then people are gonna listen to you. If you're trying to lead and you're not making plays, it's very hard. Very hard. So that's the combination we're looking for.
Down here in the front, this is more of a tactical question. It looks like Florida could be without wide receiver Tyree Cleveland. But anyway, could you talk about what makes him so good and what they'll be missing, you know, if they don't have him?
Speed, ability, deep ball ability, beat one-on-ones, yards after the catch, very good player.
Go ahead. There's been such a drastic change in the number of penalties y'all have had the last couple weeks. Do you still run the team for the penalties,
Yeah.
or was that just a 1 week thing?
Yeah, 5 of them. We have 5 penalties. Guys are gonna run today. They'll be addressed, they will run today. We'll continue the same penalty policy. I'm proud that our team has improved in that area. I asked them to do it. But one thing about this team, most of the things I've asked them to do, they've done. So I expect them to step up this week, leadership, step up, play better, the coaching staff coach better, all of us together, one team, one heartbeat. And I hopefully that most of them are not reading the newspaper. Hopefully I'm gonna stay in focus. Hopefully the coaching staff will stay in focus and believe in the task at hand. That's what I'm doing.
Do you attribute some of that improvement there to the punishment?
Well, I think it is having the referees at practice, detailing everything that we're doing, going over every penalty after practice, punishment. Then each position coach goes into his position meeting with the goal of having no penalties, and they take pride.
And, you touched on the fixable mistakes that you can identify, those long-term problems, whether it be roster or depth or health, whatever. Is there anything that you and the coaches get together to talk about there, or is that after the season?
Yeah, well, no, that's me in recruiting. I had a recruiting meeting this morning. You know, we need JC linemen. You know, we need a JC offensive tackle. We may need 2 JC offensive linemen. We may need 2 JC defensive tackles. So we're looking for those guys. I'm always looking for holes on the roster to fix. And we feel with this recruiting class, we have some young freshmen that can come in and help us. We have some JC needs that we've got to go out and get. We don't have them yet. And but those are the things that I address daily.
Coach, Toby sort of displayed some understandable frustration on social media yesterday. Did you talk to him about that? Is that something you have to address? You guys to be careful what they post.
Yeah, first time I hear about it. So, but I will address it. The guy's gonna be frustrated, but let's don't take it out on social media. There's better ways of taking that out.
Coach, Orton, is it just hard, once you're in season, to get a guy in shape and practice, or and how can you guys get some more out of it?
He's finally getting in game shape, and I think he's down to under 260 now, maybe closer to 255. He played better this week. I know he didn't make a lot of plays, but technically he played better. He did make some mistakes. I think it's just geared to practice. You know, you don't practice in 8 months. It's hard to come back and play a game full speed when you haven't been practicing. Everybody else has been training, spring ball, summer training, camp. That's why we practice.
Coach, right here. You mentioned the team meeting and meeting with the leaders. Have new leaders stepped up? You know, guys off the field, Lawrence off the field recently. Has anyone, I guess, going back to off season, stepped up that you didn't expect, or just who are the leaders of this team?
Well, you know, Christian Lockature, J.D. Moore, we give him 18, Danny, all the guys. But, you know, one guy that's clearly team leader is Rashard Lawrence. Clearly. In the 2 games we lost, he's not in there. And he makes a difference. Not only his playmaking ability, but the way he leads, his heart, his want to do good for Louisiana. He's a 4.0 grade point average. He does, you couldn't ask for a better kid. He does everything right, and he plays. And so he's one of our leaders.
Coach, you got time for one more, Andy?
Coach, you talked about you needing possibly 2 JC offensive linemen, 2 JC defensive linemen in that 18 recruiting class. You already have 19 commits. How do you kind of work those numbers to make sure you still get what you need to get?
Hope and pray. Thank you, guys.